This year we have just one LEGO architecture set that is retiring. In December this year, 2023, we are going to say goodbye to LEGO architecture The White House. This will be leaving the shelves, and this is a LEGO architecture landmark set. And if you weren't aware, there are two different kind of sub-themes in the world of LEGO architecture. You have landmark sets and then you have skyline sets. And we have just one retirement this year overall, and it is a landmark set. That is the White House. Now, the fact that the White House is retiring makes a lot of LEGO investors and collectors wonder if LEGO architecture landmark sets are good investments. What has happened with this theme in the past? Are they good investments? Do the prices go up over time on LEGO architecture sets? And today I'm going to answer that question for you. We're going to talk about some of the LEGO architecture landmark sets in the past. What has the performance looked like on Amazon? How have the values gone up over time? And what might we expect to happen with the LEGO architecture White House that is retiring this year? Now, today we're going to look at Amazon prices. Some of my videos I look at eBay prices, but today I want to see some of that price history, and I have some tools and different things that will help us with that on Amazon. We can see charts of how the price has gone up over time. So that's exactly what we're going to do here with these LEGO architecture landmark sets. And I'm going to look at about 10 years of history here. So I'm going to go back to the retirement that happened around 10 years ago, and we're going to pick one set from each year in the landmark series as a good example of what to expect in terms of return on investment. So going back 10 years, of course, brings us to 2013. The set that retired in 2013 is Sonia Mun. This is set number 21016 LEGO architecture landmark, and this is a set that was released in June 2012 and retired in January 2013, so it had a very short shelf life on this one. It was a $35 set with 325 pieces inside of the box. That's a price per piece of 11 cents on this one. But what is it selling for right now on Amazon? So if we quickly pull up the price history of this set, we can see that right when it retired, it had this really nice run up of price, and very quickly it was selling for $240. And again, this is a $35 set, but it was very limited. And then, over the next couple of years, it reached $390 on Amazon. And then the growth slowed down a little bit, but it was still steadily growing. In 2018, it reached $450. In 2020, this was selling for $650 for a while there. And actually, this did not seem to be caused by the COVID bump that happened in March 2020, where LEGO sets were more in demand. This actually happened in February 2020. We do have this set jumping up to $650. It did come back down a little bit, but still $475. Now, more recently in 2023, we do see the price was up here at $760. Now, we actually didn't get sales at this. I can see from this green chart down below that actually this did not really sell at this price, but then the price dropped and we do have sales at this lower price of $500. So this set selling for $500. Now, if you bought it for $35, if you sold it for $500, that would be a profit of $383 or a return on investment of 1,085%. Absolutely incredible. Now, it is a long hold time. This is 10 years ago that this set retired. But again, even if you average that 1,085% ROI down over 10 years, you're talking about more than 100% return every single year for just holding this set that period of time. So this was an incredible set, but again, extremely limited. So this is not the example of every single LEGO architecture landmark set out there. Let's look at a few more. So next up, the following year in 2014, we had the Sydney Opera House was the set that retired. This one was released in March 2013 and retired in December of 2014 for a shelf life of 1.75 years. Now, this was a $40 set, but you could have got it for a little lower than that. You could have got it for around $35 when it was available. And this had a piece count of 270. That made it a little bit of an expensive price per piece of 15 cents. Now, what is the Sydney Opera House doing in terms of the price action? So if we look back in time, again, we can go back to the beginning here. We can see some very fast price growth in the end of its first year of retirement up to $140 here. Again, this is a $40 set. Now it's slowed down over the next couple of years. We actually had a long period of time where this set did not go much further, so you would have been better off selling it at that point. $140 from a $40 set after a year of hold time is an incredible return on investment. Now, more recently in the last couple of years in 2021, it did jump up to $255. Again, a $40 set to $255. But that's quite a long hold time to get to that point. You would have been better off selling it back here for $140 and pocketing that incredible return on investment. Now, if you bought it for $40, sold it for $250, that's a return on investment of around 414% or a profit of $166. So still incredible investment on Sydney Opera House. One of the iconic landmarks around the world when it comes to architecture, of course. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing great performance on this one. Then in December 2015, the LEGO architecture landmark set that retired was the Villa Savaya 21014. Now, this was actually a $70 set, so it was a whole lot bigger and more expensive than those previous two that we just looked at. Although it was around $70. You could have got it on discount, of course, for around $59 at the time. And this had more than double the piece count of the Sydney Opera House. This had 660 parts inside the box. That gave it an 11 cents price per piece. But what is going on with the price on this one? Right now you can see the buy box is $353. If we look back in history, we do see a real nice price growth on this one over time. But the interesting thing about this chart that we see here is that it took a little while for the price growth to really kick in on this set. It was a little flat for the first couple of years of retirement. Now in the second year of retirement it did reach $108 or so. And again, if you bought it for $59 when it was on sale, then you're not doing too bad at $108 sale price. But if you waited a couple more years, of course, in the third year of retirement it hit $130. Over the longer period is when we really see some incredible price growth on this set. It reached $313 in 2021, and then more recently it has come back down to around $354. Now if you bought it at that $59 discounted price when it was available and you sold it at today's price of $350, that would be a return on investment of 316% or a profit of $221. Now not bad on Villa Savoia either, but it did take some time to really stretch its legs. Now the architecture landmark set that retired in December 2016 was the Lincoln Memorial, another iconic architectural marvel in Washington DC. This is 21022. Now this is bringing the price way back down again. This was a $30 MSRP. You could have got it for around $23 on discount when it was available on Amazon. 274 pieces, of course. That gives it a price per piece of around 11 cents. But what is going on with the price on this one? $250 or so, but where did it come from? So if we look at the chart on this one, we do see some steady growth over the first year of retirement towards $110. And again, this was a $30 MSRP on this one. So $110, more than 3x the MSRP after the first year of retirement. Now in the second year of retirement it did go flat a little bit. It ended the year at around 130, so just a little up from the previous year. But in the third year of retirement we do see it shooting up again. We get to $185 in the Q4 after the third year of retirement. Now the fourth year was a little flat again, and then we skyrocket once again up to $290 in 2021 on this set, and since then it has been a little bit flat. It actually had a bit of a dip in 2022, but right now at around $250. Now again, this was a $30 set that you could have got for $22 back in 2016. It has taken a couple of years to get to where we are now, but of course we see a really nice growth year by year here, with some years better than other, but overall when you just flatten this out, you see a really nice steady climb in growth on Lincoln Memorial over time. Now next up, the set that retired in December of 2017 is the Louvre. This is 21024. This is a $60 set, but we can see some discounts in the data that brought it down to around $46. So if you bought it at $46, you're doing really well for this $60 set. Now again, slightly larger set with 695 parts in this one, a little bit more detail going on, and that gave it a 9 cents price per piece, which is actually one of the better values that we've seen on this list. But what is happening with the price on the Louvre? So let's have a quick look here, and on this chart again we can see where it retired right here at the end of 2017. We can see some immediate price jumps up here to $85 or $95 in the buy box on Amazon. And again, this is a set you could have bought for $46, so you're pretty much immediately seeing a double of the price that you could have bought it at. Now at the end of the first year it was up at around $100, and over the next few years we do see some really nice steady price growth. The first 3 years of retirement were just going up, and that's exactly what you want to see with a Lego investment. It did kind of plateau a little bit after three and a half years. We do have a peak here, and we haven't really surpassed that in the last 2 years or so. So $230 peak price here after around 3.5 years of holding this set that you could have got for like $46. That is a phenomenal investment, and that would be over a 200% return on investment on that one. It is a slightly long hold time for some people, of course, but a 200% return, not bad on the Louvre. So next up we have the Buckingham Palace set. This is set number 21029 that retired at the end of 2018. This set was released in September 2016, so it stuck around for over 2 years on the shelves, and it was a $50 set. But again, if we look at the data, we can see some discounts down to $40. You could have bought it for around $40. Now this set had a 780 piece count, which is quite high for a $50 set. That gave it a very low price per piece. The value was really good in the Buckingham Palace set. It had a 6 cent price per piece. But what's going on with the price on Buckingham Palace? We have $180 right now on the buy box. If we jump into the chart here, what do we see? So going back to retirement, it was around $50. Again, right here we can see you could have bought it, actually you could have even got it lower. You could have got it for $36. Over the next year, we do see the buy box at $100. So if you got it for $36, talking about $100 the next year. Over the following year, the second year in retirement, we see it go up to around $140. Actually, just after the end of the second year, we see $155. That is phenomenal price growth growth for a set you could have got for $36. And then we do see some period of kind of flat here where it kind of plateaued after 2 years of retirement, but then this year it has picked up again, and then recently we do see it up in the $180 price point. Now, if you got this for $40, and we saw that actually you could have got it for even lower than that, but if you got it for $40 and you sold it today at $180, that would be a return on investment of 189%. So again, we see some solid performance on Buckingham Palace here, particularly in the first couple of years. It does get a little slower after the 2-year mark, but then it does pick up again. We still see price growth. Solid performance on Buckingham Palace. Now, next up at the end of 2019, the next architecture landmark set to retire is the US Capitol building. This is 21030, and this set released in September 2016, so it actually had a pretty long shelf life of over 3 years. It was $100 on the shelves, so this was actually the most expensive architecture landmark set released up until that point. But even though it was $100 MSRP, you could have got it for around 30% off at different times. So we saw examples of this selling for $71. It was 1,032 pieces, so around a 10 cents price per piece on this one. What is happening with the price? So right now on the buy box on Amazon, we do see it selling for $263. If we look at the history here, we do see a kind of a great first couple of years of retirement on the architecture United States Capitol. It does slow down in the second year of retirement. So at the end of the first year, we see it selling for around $200, and again, you could have got it for around $70. So back here in the early years of this set being on the shelves, it was discounted down as low as around $72. But towards the end of its life, you could have got it for around $90, 10% off. Selling for $200 by the end of its first year, still an okay investment. You're doing okay at that point. But then we did have what happened with the US Capitol building in early 2021. We had obviously some news events that took place at the US Capitol at that time. That led a lot of people to go and buy this Lego set, and demand spiked. We actually had an increase right here of the price up to $273 in the space of 1 month. So it ended 2020 at $200, but then a month later it was up at $270. So that is phenomenal price growth in a very short period of time. But since then it's been quite flat actually for the last couple of years, and right now it's actually selling for $260, which is a little lower than this. Even if you bought it at full price, you're still doubling your money on this one. If you bought it at those $70 or $80 price points, you're doing quite well on the architecture US Capitol building. Now this one is probably going to be most compared to the White House that is retiring in 2023, because the sets actually look quite similar. If you look at the design of the US Capitol building, this year's White House that is retiring, it does have the 2 wings on the side of the main house, and so it actually kind of makes it look of a similar design of the US Capitol building. It is also the same price point of $100, so a lot of people will be looking at this US Capitol building for an example of how the White House might perform. The one thing I would add to that is I do expect the White House will continue to have more demand than the US Capitol building, especially internationally. I think the White House is just more obviously iconic than the US Capitol building, although there's obviously that's open to opinion and interpretation. And the White House will also more than likely see bumps in demand during presidential elections and different things like that over the next few years. So will it be better than the US Capitol building? There is a chance it will have more demand, but then the performance of it as an investment also depends on whether a lot of Lego investors and resellers are actually stocking up on the White House or not. And I have not seen a massive excitement about that set in the community, so there is a chance that it will be undersupplied, but that remains to be seen. So the US Capitol building is the set that retired in 2019. Now in 2020, we actually did not have a landmark set that retired that year, so we got to skip over to 2021, where the Lego architecture Trafalgar Square was the set that retired that year from the landmark series. This is set number 21045, set in London, of course, one of the larger architecture landmark sets as well, with 1,197 pieces. That is the most out of any of these sets that we've looked at here today, but the price was actually lower than the US Capitol. This had an $80 MSRP, which gave it a better price per piece of 7 cents versus that 10 cents on the US Capitol. Now this one was released in June 2019, retired in December of 2021, shelf life of around 2.5 years. And although it was an $80 MSRP, we do see examples of it selling for around $64, right? So you could have got it for $64 pretty steadily throughout its lifetime. And what has happened with the price since then? So let's have a quick look at the chart on the Trafalgar Square set. And this is not a great one to close out with, because actually this has been a very poor investment. So this one has not enjoyed much price growth since it retired. In 2021, we do see here it was selling for its full MSRP right here before retirement. We do also see that $64, $65 discounted price here at various different points throughout the year. During the first year of retirement, the set reached $105. So at that point, if you got it for $64, you're doing okay. It's not really a great investment at that point, but you're not losing money. You're making money at that point. And that's just a couple of months after its retirement, but it didn't go anywhere from there. It actually has peaked at around $110 and it has not improved since then. So this set really has just taken time to find its legs, and I think some of that is due to a lack of demand for this set in the US, and that's the market that I'm looking at here, of course. Trafalgar Square is a very important place in London, of course, and a lot of people love to go there. But is Trafalgar Square as well known and well beloved as something like the Louvre from fans in the US? I don't know that it is, and so I think the demand on this one has not really been incredibly strong, and that has held the price down a little bit in the aftermarket. Now, will we see a time where this one finds its legs and starts to pick up? I do think that we will, because more of the set sells every day, and there's only so many of them that will ever be able to be sold because the manufacturing has stopped on it. And so at some point, prices will grow a little bit, but during the first 2 years of retirement, Trafalgar Square has underperformed. Now, I do want to call out there are other architecture landmark sets, of course. I just wanted to pick one per year for the last 10 years or so to look at here today as a good example of what can happen with these sets. Now, as we can see, some of them can underperform a little bit. Trafalgar Square, a little bit flat for the first 2 years. Some of the others can take a little time to find their feet, and in other cases we can see them quickly growing in the first 2 or 3 years and then flattening out a little bit. But in general, is this a good theme to invest in? Well, the thing is, we see some really strong investments here, and I do think that the demand on these sets has always been pretty strong. It is a beloved series of architecture sets, and when you think about architecture, you think about some of these sets such as the Louvre or the Lincoln Memorial or the US Capitol building. These are buildings and landmarks that are just incredible for architecture. They work so nicely with this theme. And then we have others that we didn't even look at here, like the Guggenheim or the Arc de Triomphe, some of which were pretty good investments. The Guggenheim was actually pretty good. The Arc de Triomphe was a little bit of an underperformer, but we have a mixed bag a little bit. So what's important with architecture landmarks is to think about whether the demand will be sustained longer term. I think that's a pretty important part of this, because of the variety of the topics of the sets and the different places that they're based on. There is naturally going to be more demand for the more popular landmarks and less demand for others. So it just involves some research, making sure you know what you're looking at. Now, White House will be an interesting case study here, and I'm excited to see what happens in 2024 with the price of that set and whether it turns out to be a great investment. But in my opinion, the demand on that one will continue long term. Now, if you want to dig a little deeper into architecture, I also made a video looking at architecture skyline sets. Now, that was a little while ago, so the data is not as fresh as this one today, but it's definitely worth looking at some of those skyline sets and how they performed over time. You can catch that video right here. And don't forget that that White House set is retiring this year, and if you want to see other Lego sets that are retiring this year with it, you can get an entire list of retiring sets in the description down below. So grab that list, check out all the different sets that are retiring this year, and thank you so much for being here. I hope you found this useful. Once again, I'm Shane from brickbucks.net, and I will see you in the next one.